Welcome back, Canonites. As 343 promised, Inside Infinite returns this week with a look at how Halo Waypoint, both the site and upcoming new app, are going to work when Halo Infinite releases. We got a bit of a hint at that during the multiplayer overview Vidoc, but today we get a deeper dive into that functionality. Today's issue features many members of 343, starting with the live team design director Ryan Paradis and lead progression designer Christopher Blom, talking about what we can expect when Infinite goes live. The first thing that Ryan goes over are the pillars of the live team, which all boil down to ensuring a healthy, player-focused experience with transparency and communication being paramount, something I think we can all get excited about. They won't get things right the first time each time, but if nothing else, this article makes clear that the team is all about listening and learning. From the multiplayer overview, we know that Infinite will have a seasonal battle pass like MCC, which will never expire. Unlike MCC, however, there will be, according to Chris Blom, free battle passes and paid battle passes, each with items for players to unlock. And of course, battle passes do not expire and can be acquired after a season has ended. Players will also be able to engage and unlock content via challenges, skill rewards, event rewards, which we'll talk about in a moment, legacy rewards, and, as I'm sure many are excited to hear, even rewards for campaign. We actually get something of a hint at this in a later picture from the article. It notes the Mark 7 armor core is being acquired for, quote, completing Chief's story in the 4 Hour Tomorrow campaign pass. I imagine this is at least partially placeholder text, but it's good to see that playing campaign will result in multiplayer rewards. Interestingly, the description here refers to the Mark 7 core as the 6th generation of Mjolnir. I doubt that the Mark 7 core itself would be a campaign reward given that it's been so heavily marketed, but I wonder if, perhaps, maybe the Mark 6 Gen 3 core could be. Anyway, there are also a number of giveaways based on significant days and weeks both in-game and in real life. Obviously, more details will come as we approach launch. Basically though, players will have plenty to unlock and work towards. This may seem overwhelming, especially if you're familiar with the MCC grind we deal with now, but it sounds like 343 have taken a number of lessons from MCC when developing progression for Infinite. Seasons are now quarterly or roughly 3 months long, with 343 wanting to avoid players feeling like they need to grind. Chris Blom puts it best saying, "We want players having fun in Halo, not grinding it like it's a job." Each season will come with new updates, content, events, systems, customization, progression, and many more features, big and small. This will certainly mean new game types and modes as the years go by, and hopefully, like 343 are looking at now with MCC, expanding how many players can partake in various game types and modes. Can you imagine 40-player FFA? That would be amazing. Now, for anyone worried about bug fixes and similar updates, worry not. We won't be waiting 3 months for those. If something needs fixing, 343 will pump that out as soon as possible based on priority and severity. The team has invested in ensuring they can respond to issues with haste. Now then, let's dive a bit into events and how those will work, and to my delight, answer a question I've had since the reveal of the Yori armor last week. Essentially, each week will feature activities for players to complete, with big weeks featuring events with specific and free reward tracks. It's noted that players should be on the lookout for, quote, a special event type with specific thematic rewards called a fracture. As it turns out, the Battle Pass will supply Canon customization, while certain events like Fracture will provide more outlandish rewards, such as the Yoroi armor. As awesome as the Yoroi design is, and as eager as I am to wear it myself, I was curious how, if at all, 343 were planning to canonize the armor. Roll your eyes at me if you want, but canon and lore are the primary ways I engage with most franchises, especially Halo. So if stuff like Yoroi is just going to be non-canon, I'm 100% cool with that. Better that than 343 trying to bend over backwards to explain why 26th century Spartans are wearing traditional samurai armor. This also means that crossover armors are all the more likely. Give me my Doomslayer armor, some COG armor, some Fallout Power armor, and so on. The sky is the limit now, and I am excited. I really hope Infinite finally lets us use the Master Chief's Mark 6 mod in multiplayer at some point. Please, 343. As a quick aside too, the logo included on this sick-ass piece of art for the Yoroi armor is rather interesting. Tanai is a Japanese word that can mean, among other things, heavenly or inspired. kind of like a Halo ring. So, Fractured Tenrai basically means Fractured Halo, a reference to Installation 07. The logo also kind of looks like a Marathon logo, so that's rather neat. Anyway, that wraps up the brief look at the seasonal content, bringing us to the Waypoint integration, with contributions by Senior Program Manager Kevin KP Paul, Senior Experience Designer Tiana Titan Loss, UX Designer Jason Unk, UI Lead Chad Mirshak, Realization Lead Eric Diaz, UI Visual Designer Eddie Arisgado, Senior Software Engineer David Rutka, and Software Engineer Brandon Blatchard. I'm so sorry if I've gotten any names wrong so far. With the launch of Halo Infinite, not unlike previous titles, Halo Waypoint will receive quite the overhaul both in form and function. And further, a new app will launch, hopefully one that's not going to go the way of the Halo channel or even the original Waypoint app. Like Infinite itself, the new Waypoint aims to provide value to legacy fans while welcoming new ones. And of course, make an overall pleasant experience across platforms with strong visual identity that aligns with Halo Infinite and the overall Halo brand. The Halo Waypoint overhaul will, of course, bring a new design and look to the website, along with tons of new functionality, especially in regards to Infinite. Great care has been taken to ensure a unified experience across platforms and between the website and app, all while keeping accessibility in mind. New tools the Waypoint team are using also means they'll be able to make changes and tweaks across platforms with relative ease, especially compared to older iterations of Waypoint. The mobile app will feature career stats and customization for Infinite, among other features, but also feature game management options for Halo 5 and the Master Chief Collection, with more features and support to come post-launch. A major goal with the Waypoint overhaul is design parity. So for example, customizing your Spartan in-game versus in the app or the website should be a fairly similar experience. As Chad Marishak puts it, if your first point of entry to the Halo Infinite brand was Waypoint, you would already be familiar with much of the game's experience design, and vice versa. The article obviously goes into much more detail on the specifics of how the team has been working to ensure parity and solid integration with Halo Infinite and the MCC for the new website and app, and I absolutely encourage you to read it in full. For myself though, I'm really loving everything that we're hearing. From the sound of things, this will be a true companion app unlike anything Halo has ever had before, possibly better than some game companion apps that exist right now. Stat tracking, progression, customization, and more, all at our fingertips. And one last thing in this section before we wrap up is the mention of service awards. I'm really not sure what these are, if they're Waypoint specific in-game commendations or what. There's not a lot of detail, but they look great. As per usual, Inside Infinite closes with Tales from the Trenches and a word from Joe Staten. The tales this time didn't really feature anything that particularly stood out to me, other than it being made clear that the team is excited to get the game out and having fun making it, which are both good things. The final words from Joe, however, do stick out. To quote Mr. Staten directly, "At the center of our plans is a goal to deeply root your multiplayer character into the larger Halo universe and give them a vital, active role in the Halo story moving forward." What it means for our multiplayer Spartan to play a vital role in Halo's story is something that remains to be seen. However, the most obvious route is the return of a Halo Reach style of storytelling as time goes on. Joe notes that the choice for the first season of Halo Infinite to focus on Reach was deliberate. People have been speculating on how Halo would move forward, and at least part of that seems to be a focus on bringing us, the player, into the Halo universe in ways both familiar and new. I have my own thoughts on specifically how Halo should move forward into the future, but I can't say that this doesn't have me at least a little excited. Will we be going full Destiny at some point? I couldn't say. But having our custom Spartans participate in the story again sounds great. Just 343, please don't pull a Noble 6 and canonize information on our Spartans. Don't do that again. Anyway, that concludes the latest Inside Infinite. Don't let the length of this video fool you. It was a huge article, but full of a lot more technical detail than usual, which is hard to make entertaining for videos such as this. Definitely check it out though. Also, make sure you're signed up for the Halo Insider program for your chance to be selected for public flighting for Halo Infinite, which is said to be happening later this summer. And remember, leave your questions for the devs on Twitter with the hashtag Ask343. That video series should be returning in the near future, so if you have any questions on anything we've seen recently or in the past, get over to Twitter and ask away. For now though, this has been Halo Canon. Stick around for the Patreon shoutout, and I'll see y'all next time. First, I'd like to give a big thank you to our Harspice patrons. First, there's Hope, then we have Freight, followed by SS Diko-chan, Justin Montgomery, and finally, Discombobulated Sycophant. Thank you all for your amazing support of the channel. Next, I'd like to thank our theoretical patrons. If you'd like to see your name here or get a direct shoutout, check out patreon.com/halocanon. You can simply support the channel or get additional benefits, such as behind-the-scenes material, including the raw audio for upcoming videos, and even shoutouts like this. All patrons now get early access to certain videos as well, and more benefits are to come. However, your continued viewership is more than enough for me. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and maybe even subscribing to the channel if you aren't already. If you really enjoy this, turn on that notification bell so you can be among the first to see new videos when they release. But for all my fellow Canonites, keep on being awesome.